ever heard of a shrew?
HBR Talk with Hannah Wallen. One of the more bizarre and dark parts of U.S. history was the hysteria that gripped several small communities in Massachusetts between February of 1692 and May of 1693. The panic spawned the Salem witch trials, known today as the deadliest witch hunt in the history of the United States. During that time, more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft, with 19 found guilty and hanged. One man crushed to death using big rocks and even human weight for refusing to enter a plea, and 5 of the accused dying in jail. On what evidence could such a frenzy have fed? It began with 2 little girls, 9-year-old Betty Paris and her 11-year-old cousin Abigail Williams, exhibiting bizarre behavior that today might be indicative of anything from a vivid imagination to severe mental health conditions. They screamed, threw things around the room, made strange sounds, crawled under furniture, and contorted themselves into weird positions. They claimed to have been bitten and pricked with pins, and showed marks on their skin to prove their claims. Soon they were joined by 2 other girls, 12-year-old Ann Putnam Jr. and 17-year-old Elizabeth Hubbard, an adult by the standards of the day. Hubbard, the maidservant of Dr. William Griggs, who diagnosed the girls' fits as supernatural prior to Hubbard's first episode, soon became the primary instigator of the witch trials. It was under her influence that the girls began accusing members of the community of witchcraft, using as their main evidence the aforementioned fits and their own narrated experiences of spectral attacks. Their method was characterized by sitting in the courtroom and acting stricken, controlled, or spectrally assaulted with pins and teeth every time the defendant's head or hands moved. Their testimony was full of wild, imaginative narratives that were just taken at face value by the community, which seemed to be unable to come up with any alternative explanation for the girls' affliction. Eventually, the area began to regain a modicum of sense. The first critics of the hysteria were themselves put on trial, but then higher courts stepped in and began hearing cases. Later, a dozen local ministers banded together to caution against reliance on spectral evidence, and eventually the practice was ended and condemned. Or was it? Did it simply evolve into a different form? Maybe it's even become one we've talked about a few weeks ago in HBR Talk 71, I'm Afraid You're Wrong, Grievance Tactics of the Victim Identity Cult, regarding its use as a get-out-of-debate free card by victim identitarians. Consider the feminist "she fears you" narrative, which doesn't rely on actual evidence of a reason for women to fear men, but instead on the concept of women's, quote, lived experiences and a presumed, quote, right to feel safe, which applies to women, but apparently not to men. These ideologues use manufactured, manipulated, and misapplied data to promote belief in a pattern of violence that is gendered in nature, due to allegedly being uniquely experienced by women and uniquely perpetrated by men. Evidence showing both sexes experience and perpetrate the types of violence in question, intimate partner and sexual assaults, is ignored or responded to by accusing the messenger of sexism and violent intent. Perception of this alleged pattern of violence is then treated as a spectral phenomenon that, by its very existence, afflicts women with a state of constant fear that controls their everyday choices. A state feminists again consider to be a uniquely female experience, uniquely inflicted on the female population by men, just by the fact of their existence. This narrative is used as an excuse for all manner of civil rights infringements, from attacks on due process to institutional rules that have gendered application, unique, burdensome social expectations of men, and unethical, even aggressive behavior toward men by women. Similarly, victim identity cultists on university campuses are using the mantra, "I feel unsafe," as a tool to silence dissenting political speech. Several speakers with viewpoints that the cult finds politically incorrect have been targeted with protests and petitions demanding administrators block them from speaking, all on the basis of that mantra. At George Mason University, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh is teaching a summer course. Anti-sexual assault activists on campus organized a protest, including a town hall meeting, an ad campaign, and a petition to voice their opposition to the university's choice to invite Kavanaugh to teach the course. Their grievance? Good luck identifying it. They're not citing anything specific they think Justice Kavanaugh might do or say. They're not citing disagreement with his ideas or alleging that he's somehow underqualified. They just claim his presence on campus makes them feel unsafe. An Ohio University student, using a mobile app called GroupMe, foolishly posted a video of herself in which she used a racial slur while drunk. Now the student is facing the wrath of the internet, her university, and her classmates over the content of the video, a momentary display of drunken stupidity she claims to have posted unintentionally while trying to save it on her phone. GroupMe is a group messaging app for which users create an account, then they can create a group and add contacts. When someone sends a message, everyone in the group can see and respond to it, but it's limited to those who are in that group. So, how did the video get so much attention? OU resident Maurice Swift saw it, either as a member of the group to which it was posted or when a member of the group showed it to him. Then, he posted it to Twitter, named a student, and suggested, "Twitter, do ya thang." He might as well have posted, "Get the torches and pitchforks, everybody, we have a dumbass to mob." Was the student a dumbass for posting a racial slur to a group message? Probably. Does she deserve to be the target of an investigation by her university which can potentially end her academic progress and destroy her future career prospects? If you think so, you might have wandered into the wrong part of YouTube. Swift's excuse for unleashing the internet on a drunk college student over a thoughtless comment? A lot of students on campus feel very unsafe, unheard, and uncomfortable. He didn't even claim she was responsible for said discomfort, just that his feelings excused that choice. Smith and Mount Holyoke colleges have placed their newly appointed Joint Chief of Police Daniel Hecht on administrative leave after students protested his appointment to the position because, okay, swallow anything you're drinking and don't take another sip. Because Officer Hecht committed the terrifying crime of liking social media posts his detractors found objectionable. And according to the offended students, yeah, that made them feel unsafe. That's it. No shootings, no harassment, not even any questionable policy statements or unfair behavior towards students. They just disapproved of his social media likes. You can drink now. You probably need to after hearing that. As we all know, feminists have targeted anti-feminist and men's issue speakers on several campuses, excusing violent, aggressive protest intended to disrupt their presentations with claims that the presence of such dissenting voices makes students feel unsafe. They've used that narrative to shut down showings of the Red Pill movie, force changes of venue for conferences and meetups, and get individuals and groups kicked or banned from events over political views, or even consumer advocacy such as Gamergate's protest against unethical games media practices. To a society that has always valued toughness and resilience, this development may seem to be merely childish, but it's actually a lot more serious than that. The vague cry of "you make me feel unsafe," absent of legitimate cause, is the spectral evidence of the 21st century. It has become a weapon of choice for the victim identity cult, one that can be used to aggressively target their political opponents while simultaneously playing victim. It has been allowed to become a shield against accountability for behavior that would otherwise be recognized as unreasonable, ridiculous, or abusive. It is being used as a gag with which to silence disapproved viewpoints and force compliance with the cultist demands for law and policy changes to suit their sensibilities. It has even been used as an excuse for direct violence, with wrongthink presumed a threat, and aggression against the wrongthink boogeyman deemed self-defense. All the cultist has to do is slap on a scary label first, it being okay to punch Nazis and all. How long until it becomes a criminal offense to be the target of a victim identity cultist who feels unsafe? It's not so far-fetched an idea. After all, That's kind of what has happened with women claiming to be afraid of their partners under the Violence Against Women Act. There are men who have been arrested on the word of wives or girlfriends whose main complaint is not their target's overt actions, but their own fear of him. If a complainant's feelings about the suspect's potential for criminal action can be the basis of an arrest under one law, they can be the basis of an arrest under any law. As a patriarchy skeptic and human rights egalitarian who holds many unpopular opinions, that makes me feel unsafe.